Welcome to Upfront. I'm Daphne Good. This is a program where we bring you the leaders from our South Vancouver Island community. Today, we're very happy to welcome North Cowichan Mayor John Lefebure, who is also chair of the CVRD board. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Daphne.
I just want to give a bit of background on you for those who are new to the area, because you've obviously been in an elected position for a long time, but you have lived in Chemainus for 26 years with your wife Marlene, your son and your daughter. Mayor Lefebure has a bachelor's degree in political science from Carleton University, and he's operated, as many people know, a successful design and build construction business, Lefebure Developments, since 1990. Of course, now as he is sitting as mayor, he's not operating as a fully fledged builder, but more in a property management sense. He's had many volunteer positions, served on council for 4 years, starting in 1999, elected mayor in 2002, and he had a short hiatus along the way, but you've been mayor for 11 years, going into your 12th, so congratulations
Thank you.
on that success. It's an awful lot of balance that you have to deal with, and perhaps we'll bring that out as we talk, Mayor Lefebure. First of all, I want to talk about the growing concern over the homelessness situation in the Cowichan Valley, and what steps are you and council taking to provide some solutions there?
Right. So we are working with a lot of different organizations that are trying to manage the situation. And I have to say manage because it's not something we think we can solve in any kind of a short timeline. But School District 79, for instance, has huge issues. There are people staying in the marsh near the schools and their district headquarters, and a lot of needles that have to be picked up. We have that same problem around some of the businesses, restaurant businesses, and at the Island Savings Center. So we've all had to come together to look at short-term management solutions, and we're also working long-term on more affordable housing options that we hope will provide space for some of the people. Now, from what we know, some of the people actually, especially the young people, they already have homes, but for various reasons, they choose not to stay in that home, whether it's an uncomfortable situation with foster parents or whatever it is, or because of addiction, they are choosing to not stay in that home. So there's a lot to learn about it. We have social organizations, provincial government organizations, churches have been fantastic in trying to provide shelter and so on. And what we have been doing is meeting regularly to discuss it and see what things we can do to make the situation better. And we just recently had a forum led by Social Planning Cowichan with many interested parties, and we actually were able to attract 2 homeless individuals who gave us some really good feedback on why they are homeless and what their needs are.
And the root of the problem is the same issue that many communities in BC are dealing with, whether it's drug addiction or social issues within families. And so that work continues as affordable housing. I
would just add mental health issues. So mental health and addiction issues, we believe, are the 2 key issues, and so that you have to try and address those issues as well.
Let's talk about another key issue for the municipality, which is land use, and tell us about some of the highlights there, what you're working on, please.
Sure. I don't know whether you know, but we're really in one of the cyclical upswings in terms of development. So council has been considering in North Cowichan some very large developments. One is the newest reincarnation of the land that was the cliffs over Maple Bay. It's called the Kingsview development, and the proposal is up to 1,400 homes over the next several decades. And there's a smaller development there called Donay. So the entire Maple Bay Road corridor and that area is very much under discussion. We're doing some planning exercises around that, and people are very concerned, have become very concerned about what our official community plan says, where the urban containment boundary is, and what are the implications for their individual neighborhoods.
So are you redrawing anything in the official community plan?
We are considering changes. We are considering whether the urban containment boundary is where it should be. So yes, we are definitely considering changes. We've had very strong public engagement, and I know that will continue because people are very passionate about that area, as they are all areas. But that area right now, we've got people's attention, and they're coming out very strongly to tell us what they think.
I know public engagement is very important to you and many others. Tell us about the Duncan North Cowichan Citizens Assembly, which helps to foster that.
That's a really intriguing process that we're going through. So during the last election, we had a non-binding referendum question on whether North Cowichan and the city of Duncan should reunify. It's called amalgamation, but we were one until 1912. And surprisingly to me, we had a very strong endorsement in North Cowichan of doing a study to look at that. And the idea of a citizens' assembly, which is something I had no experience with before, came forward. And it's a dedicated group of 36 individuals chosen almost at random, that there are some parameters from the two communities to work together to come up with a recommendation to both councils. It's a fascinating process. They're working very hard. We're going to get very shortly the technical review, because there's two parts. There's the one part is to look at what people think about amalgamating, and the other part is what are the costs? What are the financial impacts? And that technical study is just coming forward, so it's going to be another step forward for that citizens' assembly.
Right. It'll be good to see what comes out of it, because some people say amalgamation, or whatever you call it, will be more expensive in the long run. So we'll keep our eye on that. When we talk about priority areas, Mr. Mayor, for the 2017 budget, you've said that a large one is Somenos Marsh, the blue-green algae problem. Can you give us a little detail?
Sure. On the environmental side, we have two beautiful lakes in North Cowichan that are suffering. One is Cowichan Lake. That's where the blue-green algae outbreak last summer resulted in a toxic cyanobacteria bloom. Not all blue-green algae are toxic, but this one was. And several people actually lost their dogs because the dogs plunged in and then licked themselves off, and they later died. And that really raised an issue that was already on our plate, but we're studying the issue. We have a task force to look at it and try and come up with some ideas for solutions. Somenos Lake, a similar lake, but with different problems. There's a very invasive plant called parrot feather that comes out of people's aquariums that has taken hold at the mouth of the Somenos Creek, and it's unbelievably dense and has impacts on the flow of water out of the system. And we're looking at making a start this year in terms of trying to manage that problem.
We have about a minute, and this is a big subject, but I do want to know what's happening with the proposed new Cowichan District Hospital, because that's got to be one of the largest issues financially facing the council and CVRD. Yeah,
absolutely, and that rests at the CVRD, of course, and with the CVRD Hospital Board. And we're very, very pleased at how that's moving along. We have just been given the go-ahead by the Island Health, and therefore from the provincial government to move ahead with a concept plan for the hospital. And our understanding is that you don't get the okay to move on a concept plan if funding is not in the cards in the near future, because the concept plan would become outdated. So we have the land, we paid for the land, we have money in reserve, the land is zoned properly, we're going to do the concept plan. That's going to take about $500,000 in a year, and then we hope that we will be able to have the timing on when funds are budgeted by the province to actually build the hospital. And of course, we are already prepared to pay our share.
All right, we're going to take a brief break. We'll be right back with Mayor John Lefebure. In the CVRD, there are 80,000 people, 9 electoral areas and 4 municipalities. I'm with Mayor John Lefebure, who is chair of the CVRD. There are 8 First Nations in your area, John, so lots of work to be done in building bridges. And I know it's one of your key concerns is building these bridges with First Nations. How are you doing that?
We are doing that, first of all, on the ground. So we have the Cowichan Watershed Board and the Chief of Cowichan Tribes, and Cowichan Tribes is the largest First Nation in BC. We're both co-chairs, and we work really together, really well together at the Cowichan Watershed Board, and many other issues, including land use and trails and so on. So we work together on the ground, but also we meet. I've been meeting through the services of Michelle Staples from Social Planning Cowichan with as many of the band councils as I can. We're talking about ways that we can bring truth and reconciliation forward, involve more people, do more of our Building the Village sessions, which makes people aware of our history and with First Nations and things we need to know before we can reconcile and move together. And all of this is incredibly important because we are one community with various parts, and our future is really linked to how well we work together. So we have a lot of work to do, but we have some great people who are really interested in making sure that we do have truth and reconciliation.
There's also a very vital issue in the Valley and has been for a number of years, and that's the watershed issues, which I know Cowichan Tribes have been very involved in as well. So give us an update, because along the way people have talked about the drought problems, how to fix them. Everybody eventually comes to discussing Cowichan Lake, that there just has to be better storage at Cowichan Lake. Can you give us the latest update on that situation?
Sure, absolutely. So we have a great partnership with Cowichan Tribes at the Cowichan Watershed Board, and we've been working very well with Catalyst, who actually own the weir that controls the flow of water from the lake into the Cowichan River. And we have been working with all partners towards presenting to the public for their discussion and consideration eventually an upgrade to that weir. So we have a number of steps that we have to accomplish. We have to do a very proper scientific analysis of required flows in the river. We've just gotten some funding for that, which is fantastic, so we can move ahead on that. We have to establish a function at the CVRD so that we can actually be involved in perhaps contributing to raising the weir or any other functions, any other activities in that regard. And someone has to take out a license to store more water. So we're working on a number of those different things. I believe that we will come to the point where we can say the weir should be raised, modernized and raised, and this will be the cost. And then one of our real chores will be to find the money to do that.
Right, because I was going to say it's the biggest ticket item probably facing the people that are in the governing positions for years, decades probably.
Yeah, we estimate at this point in time $10 or $11 million, but we're really not sure yet. We only have rough estimates to start with. But the senior levels of government have contributed to this study of river flows, and we believe they have recognized from all our discussions with them that this is an important climate adaptation mitigation that is needed, and we believe they will support us in our attempts to solve the problem.
And part of it, I suppose, is educating a lot of people about climate change, because it just can't be we keep turning on the taps and using tons and tons of water, right? Like people are really looking at various ways of irrigating and using less water.
Yeah, we have established a culture of conservation, so we are informing the public every year about that. And even in years like this year, which has seen a lot of rain, we will still be going into a dry summer, and we will still be talking about water conservation. And we will always do that, no matter what the weather conditions, because we want people thinking in that regard. You know, our major water systems for domestic water are not actually under threat, but that's today, and we want to have conservation, people thinking in terms of conservation going into the future. Meanwhile, we do have a real problem in terms of surface flow in the Cowichan River.
Yes.
And those low flows are harming fish populations. They're threatening the closure of the catalyst pulp and paper mill for lack of water. And sport and recreational uses and other water license on the river, all are at risk. But the biggest part of that, of course, is First Nations fishery and cultural values and use of the river. And that's why Cowichan Tribe has been working so hard over the years to make sure the river is protected.
Linking to other environmental concerns, I know the Malahat Nation has been key in all the discussions about tanker traffic and proposed tanker traffic. Can you tell me how are you and others at the CVRD board coping with these changes and all the opinions and the diversity of opinions? It has been a learning curve, I'm sure.
Yeah, and of course the CVRD may be faced with an application for an LNG terminal. Because they will have to rule on that application, a rezoning application if it comes forward, they're not free to actually say as much as they might otherwise. They can talk about liquid natural gas in general, but specific applications they can't refer to. So we have a very environmentally sensitive board, and they are listening very carefully to what everybody has to say on these issues. But there will be some tough decisions to make in the future.
Let's talk about the rural areas for a minute. I know that there's a great concern about preserving rural areas, and as we talked about earlier, there's lots of housing plans, but in balance, you are also trying to preserve and build new trails, bicycling areas, preserving that land.
We're doing a huge amount of work both at the CVRD and at North Cowichan on trails. So we just have a new Parks and Trails master plan at North Cowichan. We are blessed with having 5,500 hectares, that's 12,000 acres of municipal forest. And we're using some of that municipal forest to have mountain bike trails, hiking trails, equestrian trails. So we're inviting people into specific parts of our municipal forest, and it's some of the most beautiful, it's all mountains, so it's some of the most beautiful scenes anywhere. Similarly, in the regional district, we have a dedicated fund to purchasing parkland in key areas like Stony Hill or Lake Cowichan, Cobble Mountain, so on. So we are building a fantastic series of parks and trails in the regional district as well. It's just been some amazing work by staff and incredible support by the board. So
well, it's a stunning area, that's for sure. So great to hear. I do want to say that there's a new aspect at the website talking about how North Cowichan is prepared for emergencies.
Right.
New information coming out all the time on this e-alert.
Yeah. So we've a number of years you've been able to go to the website and sign up for notifications. The latest embodiment of that is the e-alert service. So you can find out that a road is closed or there's some other kind of emergency, and all you have to do is sign up and it will come to you through your email automatically.
Great.
Yeah.
Balance is huge. It's a big issue for councils. It's a big issue for mayors. I'm always curious, how do you maintain your balance? Is there any time off? And if so, what do you do with it?
There is some. I have to say the email traffic and the ability for people to communicate with you instantly and easily has really raised the bar. So it sucks up a lot of time, and we're trying to engage more than we ever did before. We understand that's our responsibility. We're trying very hard to do that in a number of ways, like play speak. But there is still time, and family is what keeps me sane, and we're very lucky to have an international student with us who is just an incredible amount of fun and involvement, and my son and his girlfriend are back at home for a while, and so it's a busy household, and my niece is in the suite in the basement, so it's just a busy house and keeps us young, I think.
And one day you'll be back boating?
One day I'll be back boating. I'm building a boat in the garage, which is also very relaxing, rewarding work, and
I bet.
hope to be out on the ocean this summer.
Well, congratulations on all the hard work you've done, Mayor Lefebure, and we'll be watching with interest to see if you're running. I have to ask. I mean, it's 19 months away, probably, but...
You'll have to ask me again very close to the election.
Okay, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back and find out more about what's going on in the area of tourism in the Cowichan Valley. Plenty of people visit the Cowichan Valley for all kinds of obvious reasons. Maybe we'll tell you about some new information today, though. I'm with Sonja Nagel. She's the Executive Director of the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce. And it's a special year for the Chamber, Sonja. I know there are some milestones. Tell us about that.
A couple of great milestones. We are now 110 years as a Chamber of Commerce under the Board of Trade. So the Chamber runs under the Board of Trade Act. So that's a big milestone for us, 110 years of doing business in the Cowichan as a Chamber of Commerce. And we also reached a goal this year of 500 members.
That's a big one.
A really big one. It's been on our target for the last year, and we're over the top now, and moving forward with 510 members coming up shortly. So a big year for us.
Do you have any idea how many members were there 110 years ago?
I think we started with 18 members.
Wow.
And we have an actual wall plaque that has those members identified. You can hardly see the name, but 18 to 510. It's
Good
pretty
success.
cool. So we're the largest Chamber of Commerce in the Cowichan Valley. There are 4 chambers of commerce, and between all of us, we have almost 1,000 members. So we are the voice of business in the Cowichan.
Fabulous. Well, I know I've been involved in a lot of your events and talked to many of the members, and there have been all kinds of controversial issues that the Chamber's had to deal with, some big bouquets that have been given out. Tell us about the actual work. What is it that the Chamber provides?
Well, the Chamber is considered the Cowichan's largest business networking organization, and we provide networking primarily, professional development, and advocacy for our 500 plus members. We do belong to the BC Chamber of Commerce, which is a larger voice for us in the province, allows us to have a voice provincially. They're considered the voice of business in British Columbia. There's 120 chambers that belong to the BC Chamber of Commerce. That represents 35,000 businesses in BC that are funneled through the BC Chamber of Commerce as being the voice of business. So it's a great, powerful network, and we're just really pleased to be part of that larger base and have a bigger voice with government.
And do you feel you also fulfill an advocacy role at all for a lot of businesses that are dealing with emerging issues, for instance?
Definitely. We have a business advocacy committee. Last year we took actually an advocacy issue to the BC Chamber of Commerce, their policy session, for the wineries. It was a taxation issue for the wineries, which of course is a burgeoning industry here in the Cowichan Valley. So we took that. It was voted unanimously at the BC Chambers, so we're certainly taking those kind of issues forward to both the BC and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce.
Well, thanks so much for the information and for all your good work. Enjoy the summer coming up with lots of visitors. And we're in the gorgeous Visitor Center. We'll be right back to give you an update on what's happening with visitors in this area. The Chamber also operates this beautiful Cowichan Regional Visitor Center, and Kirsty Grant is the coordinator. Lots of people pass by on the highway now and see this beautiful facility. You really grew when you moved in here.
We blossomed, yes. It's been lovely being in this new center. With such close proximity to Highway 1, For both north and southbound visitors, it's really accessible. Our parking lot is fabulous. We've got lots of space for RVs and of course just regular family vehicles. And we've got a dual electric car charger, which is used on a frequent basis. And people really often plan that stop into, into their trip.
That's useful.
So super, it's been great. Huge increase in our visitor count since we moved here. And of course, our center offers so much more than we offered previously. So we're very proud of what we're able to do for the visitors here.
I have learned a lot, and I feel like I know the Valley really well, being a Vancouver Island person for many years. But every time I come in, Kirsty, you can see the beautiful displays, and there's a lot of things even for sale and just ideas. If you've got a weekend or a half a day and you want to come to the Valley, you get a lot of ideas on places to visit and tours and all sorts of things. It's really great.
That's our job. Our job is to tell people what the Valley has to offer.
Right.
And we have people coming in from all around the world on a regular basis. We also have lots of people that come here to shop for local products.
Yeah.
Because we do carry a really nice selection of locally made and locally locally flavored items. So we're really happy to be able to do that and support some of our local producers while we do that.
You also have been out there, so you take a lot of goods and services with you when you travel in your car.
Certainly
with the Mobile Visitor Center.
Yes, we do. Yes, I absolutely do. So we saw very close to 7,000 people we serviced at events out and about in the Valley this past year. So we went to the likes of Brentwood International Rowing Regatta. We went to Islands Folk Fest. We were at the Cowichan Exhibition. We were at the Cobble Hill Fair. We went out to a number of smaller conferences as well that had international participants. So that was important for them to know what the Valley had to offer. And a lot of these people at these events are often traveling without a vehicle.
Yes.
And so for us to go to them and help them plan what they can do during their time here, because they often have time away from their event. Or they want to break from their event. They want to change the scenery. They would like to see what the community has to offer. And so it's really fun doing that, meeting people that you wouldn't necessarily see in the visitor center, and really letting them know about all the fabulous things the Valley has to offer.
That is fantastic. So will we see you continuing through the spring and summer?
Our goal is to be out there doing visitor servicing at various events. We certainly have plans to go back to Brentwood Regatta this year. We were very well received there. People, because it's a multi-day event and people from all over the Pacific Northwest, lots of families were happy to learn about things they could do with the kids that weren't rowing, and enjoy the time between races so they could get out and see the community. So it's certainly our intention to keep up that pattern and get out into the community, into various events again.
So how many people do you expect, or do you even estimate you might see? I mean, thousands when you're talking about all the events. And
we spoke to very close to 7,000 people at events in the last year, and then of course about over 22,000 here in the visitor center.
Good job.
In various languages. So
how many languages?
More than I speak. I keep myself busy in French and English, a little bit of Spanish. Fortunately, we have people on our team that are German speaking, and they use their language well during the summer months.
Good job. Well, there's always a good crop of really active volunteers here too, so people
We're very
will meet
fortunate,
them whenever they stop in. Thanks so much, Kirsty. Enjoy a wonderful tourism season coming up.
Thank
I guess there's a big advantage with the dollar situation as well.
Absolutely. We're certainly seeing people, there's a number of things people are doing. So there's staycations that are happening because people want to stay on the island. People are definitely taking advantage of the dollar, the Canadian dollar, where it is. And certainly Vancouver Island is becoming a destination of choice, and Cowichan region has been promoted accordingly. So lots of people are coming here for all sorts of different activities. So there's the wine and foodie part, but there's lots of people that come here to hike and cycle and kayak. And we're certainly a destination for a number of different things.
And great kite surfing too.
Kite surfing,
and
absolutely.
Boarding.
Yes.
Goes on and on.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Kirsty.
My
Make sure you
pleasure.
take
Thank
a
you.
trip to Cowichan Valley. Enjoy this beautiful place for yourself. Thanks a lot for joining us on Upfront. We'll see you again next month.